Hey y'all, this is Amanda and welcome back to my Texas Zone 8A garden, and today we're going to be talking about all things Lisianthus and starting some Lisianthus seeds. Okay, I'm also going to give you a seedling update at the end of the video for all of the fall annuals that I started about a week ago. But today I wanted to talk about Lisianthus. I've had a lot of requests for starting Lisianthus, doing a seed video about Lisianthus. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience regarding it and then show you how I go about processing all of the seeds and getting them started. Okay, so Lisianthus, they can be difficult and annoying in my opinion. However, I will say once you have success, it feels quite worth it. The blooms are so unusual. They're kind of rose-like, antique looking, just absolutely beautiful blooms. And there's really nothing like it in the garden. They come in a wide variety of colors, and you can purchase seeds that give you long stems that are excellent for cut flowers. In my particular zone, they act as kind of a short-lived perennial, so they'll be around like 2 to 3 years, and then I kind of replace as I'm going. The Lisianthus that I currently have in my garden were grown from seed, and then I have a few shorter varieties that were purchased as plants from Covington's nursery. Lisianthus are also known as Texas bluebells in my area, so I love that name. I think it's so fun. Now in my area, I overwinter my Lisianthus. I'm zone 8A, and they are hardy. Lisianthus are hardy in zones 8 through 10. If you are a colder zone, you're going to just grow them as an annual each year. If you're in a zone like mine, I do highly suggest that you cut them back, cut all the stems back, and that you give them a nice mulch around them to kind of keep them warmer during the winter so that you don't lose them. Lisianthus do prefer full sun, 8 to 10 hours a day. I will say that they can benefit from a little bit of afternoon shade. I think that is especially helpful, especially in areas like mine, where right now they're saying that the average for the month of August is going to be 100 degrees. That's the average temp for the entire month of August. That's crazy. Now let's talk about a few things that make Lisianthus difficult. One of the main ones is their growing from seed takes forever. Once these seeds finally sprout, it does take them about 2 weeks to germinate. Once they finally sprout, they kind of get a few leaves, and then they sit there for like weeks and months and do practically nothing and look like they're not growing at all. One of the ways to kind of get those growing faster is to get them in ground faster. Once they get in ground, they really start to take off at that point. Another issue that I found with Lisianthus is that if you have a light colored bloom, such as a white or really pale pink, if water gets on their petals, they can kind of stain. And then they're kind of brown, but then on like the really dark purple Lisianthus, if they get water on that, they literally make like a watermark on it. So like the dark purple petal will have like a patch of lighter purple from where the water hit. So their petals do have a little bit of issue if they get consistently hit with moisture. And then one of the third things is Lisianthus seeds are a little bit more expensive than your standard seed. They are very, very tiny. I prefer to get my Lisianthus seeds pelleted, and that means they have a water-soluble coating around the outside of the seeds that's easier for you to sow your seeds. Now, my most recent purchase from Swallowtail Garden Seeds, I was able to get several varieties of Lisianthus for an excellent price. So if you're looking to start Lisianthus, but you don't want to pay the higher price to start off with, I would check out Swallowtail Garden Seeds. I'm not sponsored by them. This is just me giving you my thoughts. A few more things about Lisianthus. They have a really long vase life, so if you cut them and bring them inside, they last up to 2 weeks in the vase, and I think they're absolutely beautiful. I also think they're absolutely beautiful blooms, whether they're closed or open. I think both varieties are beautiful. One stem of Lisianthus tends to have a minimum of 2 blooms, but anywhere up to 3, 4, 5 blooms on a single stem. Another thing about Lisianthus is they really like the heat, which is great for my area. So they love nice burning heat. So if you start Lisianthus seedlings and you've got seedlings going and they're not really taking off so much, wait till the heat comes on and then they should take off. Now, my recent Lisianthus experience the last couple of years has been I started them from seed. They didn't do much of anything. I put them in the ground. They grew for an entire year and didn't give me very many blooms, just a few short blooms. But then second year, here we are, and they are going bonkers and giving me lots of beautiful blooms. So it might take longer than a season for you if you're in zone 8 to 10, where we can grow them as perennials. Might take longer than a season to get them established. If you are in one of the colder zones, the earlier you can start your Lisianthus seeds, the better. Now, for zone 8 through 10, you can overwinter your Lisianthus, which is why I am starting my Lisianthus right now. It is August. I'm going to start my Lisianthus, and then I'm going to get them out into the garden probably mid to end of October and allow the seedlings a couple of months to really get established within my garden before the colder weather hits. If you are in zones 7 or colder, you just need to start yours typically early winter. You know, you can go ahead and start in January. I know a lot of people who start in December on their Lisianthus seeds, but you can do that. And then once, you know, you guys are getting closer to your frost date, your last frost date, you can go ahead and get them planted outside. Just make sure you protect them if you have any hard freezes coming through. Okay, so we talked about Lisianthus. Let's go about how we're going to get set up for seed starting with Lisianthus. Okay, so let's talk about materials. I'm utilizing my Amazon seed starting trays. These seed starting trays I absolutely love. I ordered a whole nother set. I have like 40 of these. They're great. Reasons I like it: it's a nice hard plastic. It's not flimsy. They've been through multiple seasons. There's a hole at the bottom where you can stick a pencil or something to pop out your seedling, which is great. They come with the bottom. They come with the seeds insert, the seed cell insert, and they come with a humidity dome on top, which is great. That is linked in my Amazon store below in the description. So we're going to start with these, and we're going to do 4 because we're doing 4 varieties of Lisianthus. I'm also going to use seed starting mix for my Lisianthus. I don't typically use seed starting mix for starting all my seeds. However, Lisianthus are a little bit more finicky, so I do want to go ahead and make sure that I go ahead and start with a seed starting mix because it's lighter, airier, and easier for brand new roots to grow through. Next, I'm going to need vermiculite, and vermiculite is just a substance you sprinkle across the top of your seedling trays. I mostly concentrate on, I utilize it on high maintenance seeds like Lisianthus, but basically it keeps everything nice and moist. And since Lisianthus is going to sit on the surface when you're sowing this, it's very important to have vermiculite if you want to get the best possible results. Now, can you start Lisianthus seeds without vermiculite? Yeah, you totally can, and you might have 100% wonderful results. I just like to utilize this. It makes me feel better, more in control, and I feel like I get a better germination rate if I utilize the vermiculite. All right, and then we're going to be starting 4 varieties of seeds. I already went over these varieties in 2 past videos. One was the seed haul from Swallowtail Garden Seeds, and the other was the seed haul from Johnny's Selected Seeds. So you can go back and check out those 2 videos if you want to know more information about these varieties. I am going to go through the names, and I'll pop up a picture of them so you can see. The first one is from Johnny's Selected Seeds, and it's Voyage to First Love. The next one is Johnny Selected Seeds as well, Roseanne Black Pearl. Next is from Swallowtail Garden Seeds, Echo Pink Picotee. And the last one is Swallowtail Garden Seeds, Echo White Lisianthus. Now, Lisianthus has like multiple categories based on when they're going to bloom throughout your entire seasons, like F1, F2, F3, F4, those different groups. As a home gardener, I don't really care about those groups. If I was a flower farmer, that would be super important because I would need to know that I was going to have Lisianthus bloom throughout the whole season instead of just having them at the beginning or at the end. I don't plant enough Lisianthus that it's like this big, huge thing for me if I don't have them throughout the season. I literally just choose the ones I think are pretty and I go with that. So I don't really stress about what category they are in. Okay, and I'm going to use my portable potting bin, and there's already soil in here. This soil is your standard kind of potting soil, so I'm going to push it to the back because I'm not wanting to utilize that right now. I'm just going to push it to the back, and if a little bit of this soil gets mixed in, it's not the end of the world. It's totally fine. So then I'm going to take my seed cells, and let me get a close-up of all this so you guys can see. Okay, and basically I'm just going to take my seed starting mix. And yes, I'm starting with dry mix. I prefer starting with dry mix as opposed to the wet mix. I feel like it's just messy. So this is just who I am, y'all. So basically I'm just going to rub the soil across the top and give it a light push. I'm not trying to push this down really hard because I don't want to compact the soil and make it harder for the roots to work through the soil. All right, easy peasy, just like that. All right, let me go ahead and put my soil table up. Okay, the next part will show how I go about moistening the soil, and basically I just pour water into each container about halfway. I typically do a little bit over halfway. Okay, and then at that point, I just put in my seed cells and the soil soaks it up naturally. Now, if I am utilizing a potting soil, it will soak up very quickly. When I'm utilizing something like the seed starting soil, it does not soak up quickly, so it takes a little bit of time. Okay, I did want to point out that I went ahead and did a set of soil with just plain potty mix instead of the seed starting mix, because the seed starting mix is just taking a long time for the water to wick up. I haven't used seed starting mix in a while. It's expensive, and so I can get away with potting mix on most things. And so anyway, it's taking a while to wick up, and I have guests coming over, so we gotta move this process along. So anyway, I did switch to potting soil for this. If you are gonna use potting soil, which you totally can, you need to pick up any large pieces of bark, anything like that, to make sure you're good. Now, Lisianthus are surface sown because they need light to germinate. So if you're gonna be getting these started, you definitely need some kind of lighting system for them to do their germination process. So we're just going to start very simply. I've already got my tags made. So this one right here is my Echo White, Pink Picotee, First Love, and Black Pearl. Okay, so let me get this started and I'll give you guys a close-up so you can see what all this looks like. Okay, so typically they're going to come in some kind of container like this, and they're going to be white or yellow if they are pelleted, and they are super tiny. So just very, very little, very simple. And so all I'm going to do is I'm going to go with the first one, which is the white, and I'm going to drop 2 seeds in each container right on the top. Very simply done. Like I said, they need they need light to germinate. And you could definitely just do 1 seed. These are expensive, but I'm going to do 2 seeds. I don't have to have 25 plants of this one. I'll probably keep 6 of each of these varieties for myself and give my other ones to my friend Kristen. Okay, there were definitely extra seeds in there, so I'm going to save those guys. Now I did want to show you, I am going to gently press these down into the soil to make sure we have nice contact. I'm checking my finger after each one to make sure that it didn't stick. That one did. You can do it. Stay. You definitely want them to have nice contact with the soil. Okay, and the coating on them is already dissolving. So let's go ahead and knock off the rest. Okay, so we've got all of them planted. We're good to go. There's 2 in each cell. And the next thing I'm going to do is open up my vermiculite. And once again, the vermiculite is to help maintain moisture on the top. And we're just giving it a light sprinkle. I'm not doing a whole bunch because if you remember, the seed actually needs light to germinate. So we don't want to cover this up real heavy. But this will go a long way to help get these guys going. This also helps cut down on mold or algae on the top of your seedlings. It is not required, it's just helpful. So if you're not interested in spending money on this, I don't think it's the end of the world for you. All right, and then we'll be adding a humidity dome to each of these. Okay, so now you've got your Lisianthus planted. Let's talk about a few more things that's needed. They do need their humidity domes on here, closed humidity domes, and we want to make sure that the humidity domes stay on there until at least 50%. I tend to lean towards 60 to 75% of the seeds have germinated within the container. Lisianthus do not need heat mats for germination. They actually like a little bit of a cooler germination. I forget what that temperature is. They like 65 to 70 degrees. So obviously if you're putting all this out in your garage, maybe your seed setup's out in your garage during the winter, you might want to have a heat mat at that point in time. Mine are going to be inside, so I'm not super stressed about that. Now, once your seedlings have germinated and once they have a set of two sets of leaves, so a total of 4 leaves, at that point you can start applying a fertilizer. I like to utilize, get all the way over here, fish fertilizer by Alaska. Just pour a little bit of it, maybe like a capful in my container of water, fill it up with water, and start fertilizing my seedlings that way. You can use whatever water-soluble fertilizer you prefer. This just works best for me. It's easy. It smells terrible, but it works really well, and it's easy to utilize. But you do want to be fertilizing your seedlings, especially if you're utilizing a seed starting mix as opposed to a traditional potting soil. Seed starting mix has no nutrients in it whatsoever for the seedlings. So you definitely have to fertilize once you have 2 sets of real leaves come into your seedling. Now, just a reminder about your Lisianthus, they're going to be so small and tiny for a while. Don't get discouraged. They're going to be little bitty seedlings for quite a while, but just let them keep growing. They are doing a lot of stuff below the surface. So even though you might only see 2 tiny leaves at the top, below the surface, the roots are going crazy. And then once you've grown these on for quite a while, mine's going to be the month of August, September, and into October. I will most likely plant these out at the end of October into the fall. Once we're really into November, once we're really past any chance of really hot weather, and then I'll get these planted out. We typically get our first frost probably 3rd to last week in November, just kind of depending. Like last year, it was really warm all through December. It really just kind of depends. If we're going to get any hard freezes, I will cover these little seedlings up that I've transferred out into the garden. Okay, I did want to give you an update on the seedlings I started that are fall annuals. We have our Japanese kale, which is our Japanese flowered kale, which is coming up, basil, which is called spicy saber. These, I have them all turned backwards, just to be difficult. This is the Japanese giant red mustard. This guy is basil mammoth. And I actually dropped this entire tray, so I lost some of them in there. This guy right here is Alyssum Tiny Tim, all coming up. Zanzibar is coming up nice and strong. This is the red Aruban basil, and it's kind of hard to see because its leaves are darker, but it's coming up really well. This is the green dragon cress. This is crimson clover. It came up like crazy and is very happy. This guy in here, and I still have them in a humidity dome because I was trying to get a few more, is the marigold petite yellow, and only about half has germinated there. Now down here, this guy right here is my Swiss my Swiss chard Vulcan, and it's probably, I have 3 cells, 4, 5, 6, so it's half and half. Half did well, half did not. This guy is still going down here. It does have some that have gone. The kale, the scarlet kale, but only 2 so far. So, but I see more in there. Like you can see that little touch of green in there. There's more coming. So I'm leaving my humidity dome on for right now. And then over here is my nasturtium tip top mahogany, which I was super worried about because, you know, I just stuck them in and didn't soak them or nick them or anything. But I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of them have germinated so far, and they germinated overnight. So I was happy that this did end up working, even though I didn't follow what you're supposed to do for nasturtium. All right, you all, I hope this made it easier for you to consider growing Lisianthus from seed. It's actually not real hard. I think that a lot of people have just had a lot of fails with it, and I have fails too, and you know, it sucks because you spend a lot of money on seeds or something like that. But this is basically the way that I've had the most success. I've never had 100% germination with my Lisianthus. They can be kind of finicky, but I think if you just take it in stride, it is what it is. If it doesn't work out, try again. You're totally fine. Remember, it takes about 2 weeks for these to germinate. So if you get to the 2-week point and there's nothing going on, you might consider starting another set. But really happy, and I will definitely share this journey with you all along the way, give you updates regarding the seedlings. I'm going to be starting a lot of hardy annuals or cool flowers, and Lisianthus are a hardy annual for me. Hardy annuals are flowers that I can start from seed now, and then I'll plant them out into the garden. I'll overwinter them in the actual garden, and then they'll get an early burst in early spring. So they'll build roots throughout the fall and winter, and then I'll get a step up in spring for blooms sooner. And I think that's a really great way to go about. I've done that multiple times. It's a really great way. It makes me feel really good. It also cuts down on all my seeds starting in winter and early spring, because that can be a whole lot. So if I can do a lot during the fall and do another half of it in late winter and spring, that helps out a lot as well. But I'll have those videos coming up soon. I was gonna say, for my hardy annuals, let me just pull some just so I can read some names if they're something you're interested in. I'm going to be hardy annuals. I'm going to be starting Strawflower, Godetia, Delphinium, Rudbeckia. Actually, that Rudbeckia should be going in the perennial mix. Foxglove, Lupin, and thank you. Somebody told me that I was pronouncing it incorrectly. Lupine was what I was saying, and they didn't even understand what I was saying. Sorry, Texas. Lupin is the name. Some sweet peas and Zulu warrior. And so I will be starting a whole bunch of those plus some other ones in an upcoming video. And then I'm also going to be doing a video on starting all my violas and pansies now in preparation for planting them out end of fall into beginning of winter out into my landscape. All right, y'all, hope you enjoyed today's video. As always, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you know my latest videos are up. And make sure you check me out on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. As always, she's a mad gardener or decorator or anything else that she wants to be. Thanks, y'all.